news here on WCIA 3, your local news leader.
For months, families across the country found out they were getting the wrong cremated remains from a Carlinville funeral home. Now lawmakers are taking steps to make sure this doesn't happen again. Our Capitol Bureau Chief Cole Henke is live in our Capitol newsroom. Cole, there's now a bill because of this. What are the specifics of it?
Well, this bill would actually create a clear, standardized tracking system for people and their loved ones' remains through this entire system. It's from Springfield Senator Doris Turner, and this bill obviously came from the disaster happening in Carlinville, where the funeral home was discovered to have been giving families the wrong remains for months to sometimes years. Dozens of families were given the wrong cremated remains and were not told about this until getting a call from the Sangamon County Coroner's Office or from seeing reports about this happening on news organizations. So it was a disaster for a while. It was a lot of logistics. It was a lot of problems for the Sangamon County Coroner's Office. He said these cases are now starting to slow down, but they're still happening. So this bill is meant to prevent all of this from happening again by giving a clear tracking number. Families would know exactly what stage in the process their loved ones are at and where they need to go to find them.
And Cole, would there be penalties for violating this law?
Yes, this was actually added into this law back when it was first proposed, or this bill back when it was proposed back in the fall. It did not have any criminal penalties attached to it, but now it would be a Class 4 felony for any part of this chain to violate this law. That's funeral homes, embalmers, or crematories. All could be subject to this law if they violate it, if they mix up somebody's remains, or if they give families the wrong remains.
All right, Cole, thank you so much. We'll have the full story on this coming up tonight at 6. A state watchdog found more than $7 million in improper PPP loans were given to state employees. According to the Sun-Times, the Illinois Office of Executive Inspector General found 277 cases of wrongdoing involving the loans. It also says state workers paid kickbacks to brokers who processed those fraudulent claims. Most of the confirmed fraud cases involved employees at the Department of Human Services, the Department of Corrections, DCFS, plus 3 cases within state police. PPP loans were intended for businesses that struggled during the pandemic. An effort is now underway to build new horse racing tracks with casinos in the state, also known as racinos. Illinois legalized them back in 2019, but that legislation gave Hawthorne Racecourse in Cicero veto power over any proposal to build a harness track with a casino within 35 miles. A group called Illinois Harness Horsemen's Association is now pushing a bill to eliminate that power. They say other states have seen horse racing explode in popularity since introducing casino gaming at racetracks. And the Chicago Bears are appealing the team's property taxes on the former Arlington International Racecourse. The Chicago Tribune reports the Bears want a refund of a little more than $7 million. The request comes as the team eyes a new stadium on the lakefront, pivoting away from the site in Arlington Heights. The Bears purchased that land last year for $197 million. The team is continuing efforts to get its taxes reduced. A bank robbery in Ohio didn't pan out quite as the robber wanted to. How police were able to catch him after his technology failed. But first, Seth has another check of your forecast coming up right after the break as we head into the weekend.
Attention all seniors. You can now get up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, including your credit card debt, with no medical exam, starting at less than $1 a day.
Oh, honey, your dad and I can't stop talking about this baby that's coming.
We've also been thinking a lot about our future, and no matter what, we want to make sure we aren't leaving you and your family with any of our debts.
Just last week, we read that the price of a funeral can be $8,000 or more.
Wow, Jeff and I definitely would not have the money to pay for that.
And that's just a funeral. But you don't have to worry. We called, and with one phone call, we were eligible for $50,000 for our funeral and final expenses.
Well, that's great, but don't you need to take a medical exam to qualify? You and Mom have some health issues.
No, there's no medical exam, and we were able to get coverage right over the phone.
And our rates can never be increased, our benefits can never be decreased, and our coverage can never be canceled.
I'm so glad you made that call.
Don't leave loved ones with your debt. Call 800-264-5105 now and see if you qualify for up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, starting at less than $1 a day. There's no medical exam, and you can be approved even if you have pre-existing health conditions. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. There's no obligation. Call 800-264-5105 now. There's no paperwork, no hidden fees, and no waiting periods. And you can start coverage right over the phone, starting at less than $1 a day. Call 800-264-5105. That's
Illinois' most accurate forecast with meteorologist Seth Volnoff.
Well, for the most part, the last couple of days have brought us nothing but cloudy skies, windy conditions, and even some of that rain. But that's all finally starting to change here this late afternoon into the evening. We see a lot of blue skies out there in Effingham, several clouds out there as well, but those skies are generally on the clearing trend. As we look at our satellite and radar picture, we see all the shower and storm activity off into Indiana. Here in Illinois, we are looking and feeling pretty good. Here's your temperatures: 64 in Champaign, 64 in Decatur, 65 currently over in Springfield, but that wind still is staying rather strong. As you can see, the breeze somewhere between about 20 and 30 miles an hour, with gusts occasionally still hitting 40 miles an hour. So that wind is a little bit annoying, but thankfully, as we head later on to the night tonight, that wind really starts to kind of taper off there. We'll see those gusts still around 30 miles an hour through the evening. Then that should make its way down to about 10 to 15 miles an hour by tomorrow morning. And with those calming winds and clearing skies, temperatures are going to be allowed to drop pretty quickly. We'll be down to about 39 degrees by the time we wake up there on our Saturday morning. But the rest of the weekend shows anything but cool conditions, because we'll be at 74 there on Saturday and up into the 80s there by the time we get to Sunday. Could be the first 80-degree day all across the area there for many of us. So definitely want to get out there and enjoy kind of this almost summer-like conditions that we'll see in the week ahead. Here's those winds going to be still hanging around 30 miles an hour through the evening. But again, by the time we get to tomorrow morning, that should be much, much more manageable. We will see the gusts kind of increase here and there throughout the weekend, maybe up to 20 or 25 miles an hour, but not near as bad as what we've been seeing here the last couple of days. Here's a chart that you maybe haven't seen in a while, the muggy meter there. As we start to get those warmer days, we also start to get a little more of the humidity to move on in, and you will see readings maybe up into that sticky category by the time we get to Monday and Tuesday. So even though those warmer temperatures sure feel nice, the humidity is definitely not a favorite there amongst the people in the area. And what that humidity is also going to do is it's going to kind of fuel some rain chances by the time we get into Monday night, and especially into the day there on Tuesday. Could be looking at anywhere between Monday night through Wednesday morning there for the chance for some showers and storms. In particular, Tuesday is the day to kind of watch here for a little bit. Storm Prediction Center doesn't always do this outside of 3 days, but again, they do have that slight risk across all of Illinois there. Something to watch for. The ingredients will be there. It'll be a little bit of a conditional risk, at least from what we can see here at the moment. There's the atmospheric fuel. Starting to see that there's definitely going to be some of that there in place. It's not going to be to a high degree, but it'll still certainly be enough to at least offer the chance for some storms. There's a look at that future track. You see maybe some chances for rain there starting Monday night. In particular, though, Tuesday looks to be the best day for that, and that might wrap up there sometime in the first half of the day on Wednesday. Temperature is going to be nice and toasty here this weekend, but could be down to the 50s by the time we get to next week. And so the system definitely going to kind of wipe the slate clean. Going to go from the 80s to the 50s here all in 1 week. But I definitely want to enjoy those 80s while we have them. And you're going to get multiple shots at them 3 days in a row there with the forecast high of 80-some degrees. But then by the time we get to next week, with those kind of spring-like temperatures, you do also get some storm chances as well. So we'll definitely take what we can get here this weekend, the 70s and 80s without the storms, before those storms start to make their way on in.
Like you said, got to enjoy it while you can, because April's just unpredictable sometimes.
Very unpredictable. This is a picture-perfect weekend. Can't complain.
All right. Recently released video shows an Ohio police department busting a man they say used a translator app to try and rob a bank.
Police say the man from Venezuela may be in the country illegally. Peggy Gallick shows us how the translation went horribly wrong.
Erie County Sheriff's Office.
Hi, ma'am. I'm sitting out in the parking lot at U.S. Bank. I just left there, and there's a young gentleman in there just walking around not talking. He's trying to get behind the gate.
This call made to police around 11:30 a.m. April 4th. It was made moments before officers say 21-year-old Exxon Brito Gonzalez attempted to rob the bank. The Fox 8i team obtained this bank security video that shows a suspect holding up his phone to the tellers. Police say the suspect did not speak English and was using a translator app to tell tellers, get the money and put the money in the bag.
Been in law enforcement for over 20 years. It's the first time I've encountered something like this, and it's the first time our officers have dealt with it too.
Sandusky Police Chief Jared Oliver calls it highly unusual for someone to use a translator app to try and rob a bank.
We're gonna detain him for now.
Officers quickly responded to the area and found the suspect. The suspect said he didn't understand English and didn't speak English. A Sandusky officer who speaks Spanish arrived on scene and advised the suspect of his rights. The suspect told the officers he was not trying to rob the bank.
Why would you go to a bank and request to put money in a bag if you don't have a bank account? What do you say? He's saying he's sorry, he didn't mean it that way.
The suspect now faces several charges. He was taken here to the Erie County Jail, where he remains. He is facing charges of attempted robbery, attempted theft, and criminal trespassing. Police say the suspect did not have any ID on him.
We learned he was from Venezuela. Again, we have no way to tell if he's here legally or not, but he has no proof of identification.
And officials say federal authorities also have questions for the suspect.
To my attention, now that Customs and Border Patrol put a holder on him too, they have a detainer, so he'll be in custody until it's dealt with at court.
I mean, not the most well thought out plan there for crime.
Usually, if you're going to do something as high stakes as this, you have some sort of like backup option. But the fact that trying to play it off like, no, I wasn't trying to rob them, even though you don't have an account there, it just didn't seem like there was more than just Plan A there to this one.
I mean, relying on your phone to try to.
Yeah, it's a little unconventional. It feels like robbing a bank's kind of you can kind of do that without need of the device, but who knows?
Right. Coming up on First News at 4 headlines, we will have your top stories, including where you can find local artists out and about this weekend. We'll be right back. Here's a look at your First News at 4 top stories. Officials at Paxton Buckley Loda High School say someone made an anonymous, vague threat this morning. They called police and increased security measures out of caution. In a letter to parents, Superintendent Travis Dooley said, quote, "We take all threats seriously as the safety of our students and staff is our top priority." This is the 3rd threat at the school within the last week. The Urbana Fire Department helped with a grain bin rescue in Livingston County. It happened yesterday at 600 East Road. That rescue took more than 8 hours. The Gridley Fire Department says the victim was buried up to his shoulders. It took 9 sets of grain rescue to stabilize the corn. The victim was taken to the hospital. The Boneyard Arts Festival kicks off today. It's already underway. That 3-day event showcases the creativity from artists, businesses, and organizations across Champaign County. Vendors will be at more than 90 venues across the area. Seth, it's just a great weekend to get out there and do stuff like that.
Yeah, probably the warmest weekend for everybody. I mean, I don't think we've had an 80-degree day anywhere. I'd have to kind of check that to make for sure, but I don't think we've had 80s here in 2024, so definitely going to be the warmest weekend there as far as just the individual day. So it'll be definitely a nice weekend to get out there and just enjoy some nice weather. That's some prime golfing weather there, isn't it, Brandon?
Got my tee time for tomorrow and Sunday already made.
You're ready.
Surprising.
Yes, we are.
All right, Brandon, what is next at 5?
The family of a U of I student who was killed working as a Lyft driver in Urbana just won a wrongful death lawsuit. We have the details. Plus, the Washington, D.C. Metro is letting everyone know they have access to transportation, how they're including those with autism. Both those and stories and more next at 5.